Okay, so you know how everyone's always talking about like the same big players when it comes to investing in Africa?
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to do something a little different and shine a light on a country that's been like quietly making a really strong case for itself,
Yeah.
as a place to put your money in 2025.
Yeah, it might actually be Africa's best kept secret for investors.
That's a good way to put it.
It is.
So we're going on a deep dive into Benin today.
All right. Benin.
Benin, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at, why this West African nation is suddenly, getting all this attention from people who are, looking to invest.
Yeah.
And we've got some really fascinating economic data
Yes, we do.
and insights into their investment strategy.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be fun.
We're going to share it all with you.
Mm-hmm.
So think of this deep dive as like your shortcut.
Yeah. Yeah. Your cheat sheet.
Yeah, like your cheat sheet to figuring out if Benin, deserves a spot on your investment radar.
Exactly.
So what makes Benin so appealing right now? Like, what's going on?
Well, first off, let's take a look at their economic growth and just like overall stability.
Okay.
The numbers are actually really impressive.
Okay. Lay it on me.
Okay. So the IMF.
The National Monetary Fund.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They reported GDP growth in Benin of 6.4% in 2023.
Wow.
And they're projecting an even healthier 6.5% for 2025.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a one-time thing. This has been like a consistent upward trend,
Exactly.
which makes me think that they know what they're doing when it comes to like managing their economy.
Yeah, it suggests some pretty sound macroeconomic management.
Right. For sure. So it's not just about how fast it's growing, though, right?
And
Like,
it got to be sustainable.
precisely. Like we're looking for steady progress, not like a boom and bust kind of thing.
Exactly. And you know what adds to that whole picture of stability?
What's that?
The projected inflation rate for 2025.
Okay.
The IMF is forecasting it at just 2%.
2%.
2%.
That is really low, especially with like all the global, inflationary pressures.
Yeah, for sure. So low inflation, like that usually means that they have effective monetary policies.
So like what kind of things are we talking about?
Like things like stable interest rates and a controlled money supply.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So this creates like a much more predictable environment for businesses,
Yeah, for sure. They can actually plan and operate knowing what to expect.
Exactly. And that predictability, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to decide where to invest your money and how to manage costs, like you need to know,
What to expect.
what to expect down the line.
Yeah.
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 So one of our sources, they were comparing Benin to some of the like bigger African economies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting comparison.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think it really shows off Benin's strengths.
Okay.
So while those larger markets like Nigeria and Kenya, they have a lot of scale, they can also be way more volatile.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so Benin's more like modest size combined with these really solid economic indicators offers like a level of stability.
Okay.
That can be super attractive to foreign investors who are a little bit risk averse.
Yeah, they don't want all that turmoil.
Yeah, they want a less turbulent entry point into the market.
That's interesting.
It is.
Okay, so strong growth, low inflation.
Uh-huh.
That sounds like a really good foundation.
Definitely.
But what are they actually like doing to encourage foreign investment?
Right.
Like what specific steps are they taking?
Yeah, so that's where their strategy gets really interesting.
Okay.
They've been putting a lot of effort into making Benin really investor-friendly.
Okay.
And one of their biggest moves has been these special economic zones.
Oh, yeah. The SEZs.
The SEZs, exactly.
Right.
And the Glad-Jigby Industrial Zone, or GDIZ, is a perfect example.
Okay, so for people who aren't familiar with SEZs, can you just explain real quick, like, what they are?
Sure.
Okay.
So basically, they're like these designated areas with like streamlined regulations.
Okay.
And really importantly, big tax advantages.
Ooh, tax advantages.
Yeah, to attract foreign capital
Okay.
and boost the economy in those specific zones.
All right, so paint me a picture here.
Okay.
What kind of benefits are we talking about?
So during the initial investment phase, the incentives are really good.
Okay.
Investors can get exemptions on most entry duties and taxes on like the stuff they need for production.
Okay, so the materials and the equipment.
Exactly. So that really lowers the upfront costs, which is a big draw.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It is.
So that's just to get started. But what about once the business is up and running, are there like ongoing benefits?
Oh, yeah, Absolutely.
Okay.
The advantages continue into the operational phase, and we're talking for up to 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
15 years. So during that time, businesses can get exemptions from customs duties on the raw materials they use in their products.
Oh, wow.
They can also get exemptions on corporate tax, which is the tax on profits.
Oh, yeah.
Advanced tax on profits, which is like prepaying your income tax.
Got it.
The minimum flat rate tax.
Okay.
And even employers' contributions on salaries.
So they're saving money in like so many different ways.
So many different ways.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So 15 years, that's a pretty long time to benefit.
It is a really long time.
But what happens after those 15 years are up? Do the incentives just like disappear?
Well, not entirely.
Okay.
Even after the 15 years, investors in these zones still get that exemption on customs duties for raw materials,
Okay.
and they get a reduced corporate tax rate of 15%,
Okay.
which is still way lower than the standard corporate tax rates in a lot of other countries.
Okay. So they're not just like trying to lure people in and then, abandon them.
Exactly.
They're trying to foster like sustained investment and long-term growth.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good.
It is good.
It sounds like they're really serious about making Benin a competitive place to do business.
Oh, yeah. They want to be the most attractive destination for international businesses looking at West Africa.
That's a good goal.
It is a good goal.
Okay, so we've talked about the growth, the inflation, the SEZs. Now, our research also pointed to their currency stability.
Yes.
Can you talk about why that's so important for investors?
Yeah, for sure. So currency fluctuations can be really risky.
Okay.
They make things unpredictable for businesses that are doing international stuff.
Okay.
And when a currency is really volatile, it can impact everything.
Like what?
Like how much it costs to import and export things, the value of your profits when you convert it back to your own currency.
Right.
It's a mess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so Benin is a member of the West African Economic and Monetary Union, or WAMU,
Okay.
and they use the CFA franc, which is pegged to the euro.
Okay, so what does that mean exactly, like pegged to the euro?
It means the exchange rate between those two currencies stays pretty much fixed.
Okay.
So it's stable. It reduces the risk of those sudden currency swings that we were just talking about.
Right, so like if I'm a European investor,
Yeah.
this basically eliminates a big chunk of the risk that comes with exchanging currency.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's much
Okay.
easier to predict what your returns will be
Right.
and manage your money.
Yeah, when you can actually like plan things out.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, predictability is a really good thing.
It is. Okay, so we've talked about their economy, their incentives, their currency.
Mm-hmm.
What about access to broader markets, like beyond Benin's borders?
Yeah, well, that's where their location is like a huge advantage.
Okay.
So they're basically a gateway to this massive regional market.
How massive are we talking?
We're talking over 300 million people in the West African region.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and their infrastructure, especially their ports, are getting better and better at facilitating trade.
So you're saying a company could set up shop in Benin
Mm-hmm.
and then reach customers not just in Benin,
Yeah.
but all over West Africa.
Ex-
That's pretty smart.
It is.
So it sounds like the government is really on board with all of this.
Yeah, they are.
Like they're actively trying to make things better for investors.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so tell me about some of the things they're doing, like the initiatives, the investments.
So they've been working on a lot of reforms to streamline tax administration,
Okay,
and it's actually working.
how can you tell?
Well, their tax to GDP ratio has been going up
Okay.
in the past few years, and it's actually better than the average improvement in other similar countries.
So it's not just like talk, they're actually making progress.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So that means their tax system is getting more efficient and effective.
That's good.
It is good.
And it's not just like policy changes on paper.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
actually putting money into infrastructure.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Okay, so what are they investing in?
Roads.
Energy.
Okay. Ports.
So it's like the basics that businesses need to actually function.
Exactly. It's all about making it easier for businesses to operate and get their goods moving.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Economic stability, strong growth, low inflation,
Mm-hmm.
investor-friendly policies.
Yeah,
Those SEZ incentives are pretty amazing.
they are.
Currency stability,
Yes.
access to a big regional market,
No.
and a government that's actually like trying to make things happen.
Very proactive.
Yeah. So what does all this mean for someone who's listening to this
Yeah.
and thinking about maybe, taking the plunge and investing in Africa.
Well, I think the really cool thing is how all of these different factors come together
Uh-huh.
to create this like really dynamic and supportive environment,
Okay.
this ecosystem for businesses and startups.
Okay, so Benin's not just sitting around waiting for investors.
Oh,
They're like rolling out the red carpet.
they're making things happen. Yeah, so if you're a business and you want to get a foothold in West Africa,
Oh,
or maybe you're already there and you want to expand, Benin is a really strong option.
yeah.
You've got lower operating costs, a stable economy, and access to this huge regional market.
Right.
It's a recipe for growth and profitability.
That's a good point.
It is.
So maybe Benin being Africa's best-kept secret.
Yeah.
That might not be true for much longer.
Yeah, the word is getting out.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've looked at the numbers, the policies.
Uh-huh.
Everything points to Benin being a really good place to invest in 2025.
Yeah. It's a really compelling case.
And maybe people have been overlooking them because they're focused on the bigger players, the more well-known economies.
Right. They're going for the usual suspects.
Yeah.
And missing out on this hidden gem.
A hidden gem, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to the big question for our listeners.
Okay, hit me.
So given everything we've talked about,
Mm.
which sectors in Benin do you think are poised for the most growth?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, which ones offer the most promising opportunities?
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think? I think that's something our listeners should really think about and research.
Yeah.
Like, where does your expertise lie?
Right.
Where would your investment capital really thrive?
That's a great point.
Yeah,
That's something for everyone to consider.
it is.
So hopefully this deep dive has given everyone some food for thought.
Yeah,
We've gone beyond just the headlines,
we have.
and we've really dug into what makes Benin such an interesting prospect.
It's a fascinating case study.
It is.
It is.
So yeah, if you're looking at Africa,
Yeah,
Benin might be the smart move.
it might be.
Who knows?
Fair enough.
It's definitely worth a closer look.
It is.